Hi, this is Dr. Cruz Peterson, and welcome to Module 4 on preparing for a role. For this week's lesson, we will be reviewing the Roman orator and rhetorician Quintilian, who offers some aesthetic practices to help the actor control physical movements on stage. His Oratory, a treatment of rhetoric, in 12 books, dedicates a substantial portion of Book 11, Chapter 3, to habitual conditioning. So for this lesson, we will analyze Quintilian's art of oratory as a means of expression, describe how the body as an instrument of art is reflected in Quintilian's Institute oratory, and explain how Quintilian's work relates to the representational, experiential, and performative aspects of pragmatic somastatics. So you will be working a lot on that aspect of it within your discussion post. So right now, through this lesson, I just want to take you through again, reiterating some of the things that Quintilian believes in, and pointing out some aspects that were very important to preparing for a role and for the actor, for the Renaissance woman actor. So, and actually all actors in general at the time, but specifically to the woman. So let's just get started. According to Quintilian, in order for one to achieve an effective embodiment, one must engage in what I see as the equivalent to experiential somastatics, what Quintilian calls visions, or emotions that belong to the pathos of the Greeks. Joseph Roach explains that Quintilian believed one, and I quote, should employ imaginative identification to impersonate and exhibit emotions as if they were his own. He urges the orator to assimilate himself to the emotions of those who are genuinely so affected, taking those passions into himself and transforming them into vocal and bodily eloquence. So early modern writers followed the teachings of Quintilian in respects to the eyes, for example. Juan Luis Vives, whom we just read, regards the imagination as the eye of the soul. And also Charles Gildon, following Quintilian's advice, claims that an actor, and I quote, ought to form in his mind a very strong idea of the subject of his passion, and then the passion itself will not fail to follow, rise into the eyes, and affect both the sense and understanding of the spectators with the same tenderness. So Quintilian postulates that the eyes, more than anything else, reveal the temper of the mind and, without actual movement, will twinkle with merriment or be clouded with grief, he says, right? Therefore, makeup that exaggerates the actor's eyes or the expressive movement of her eyes was a necessary element, especially in large spaces like the playhouses during the Renaissance. And examples of the eye's power to induce desire can also be found in art of the same time period. The portrait of two women at a window, for example, depicts a young woman gazing out of the window and an older woman standing behind her. Now, this is a painting with controversial interpretations, in which some describe the eyes of the young girl innocently gazing as her chaperone, who behind her attempts to muffle a laugh with her shawl, while others believe that the young woman is a prostitute gesturing to a customer as her dueña or madam, watches on. Just as ambiguity of Murillo's paintings yield divergent interpretations, the actor's expressive movements of the body or limbs produce the same. Therefore, the actor must cultivate habits such as gestural movements particular to her character's dress, as I mentioned in the week before, in order to avoid misgivings on stage. In order to prevent those gross errors in characterization, the actor starts by studying the play, paying careful attention to textual cues for character development, extracting meaning from it. A true believer of preparation before a performance, Quintilian charged that one cannot hope to attain perfection unless nature is assisted by study. So actors should focus, for example, on the representational skills, making sure that their actions and costumes fit the character's specific social status and geographic location, for example. In addition, the actor must be mindful of the rhythmic frames in the plays, which signify social and emotional codes and meanings of the subtext. So, especially important to the actor's preparation is the play's text. Diligent readings of the dialogue and stage directions assist actors in memorizing their parts, connecting the representational form with their experiential feelings, thus ensuring that their voices and movements match that of the characters they portray. In addition to unwavering memory, one of the fundamental skills playwrights and directors look for in an actor is the ability to improvise, as Cervantes in the Comedia Pedro de Urdemalas asserts. So studying the play's text helps the actor develop an understanding of her character's motives and emotions, which aid in not only memorizing her lines, but also in easily ad-libbing in the event that her memory should escape her. So this is accomplished how? It's accomplished through physical training. In order to improve the memory and facility, Quintilian recommends exercises to refine one's skills, fundamental to performative somesthetics, which improve not only one's mental strength, but also one's physical stamina to get one through weeks of rehearsals and performances. In addition to costumes, the representational aspect, such as the actor's voice, let's say, and gestural movements, could endue women of the stage with agency. This is especially true of the woman actor who oftentimes had to interpret the play's polysemic language and deliver it with distinct and confident voices. So, physical exercises such as breathing to strengthen the voice and lungs help the actor to control visceral movements connected to her emotional state. Once aware of these somatic functions, the actor can make adjustments in hopes of highlighting her aesthetic sensitivity in order to portray her character in a natural and realistic manner as demanded by early modern playwrights such as Lope de Vega. Daily rehearsals and training were not uncommon as critics observed of actors, a practice that corresponds with Quintilian's physical training for public speakers. In addition to dialogue, stage directions present the actors with experiential and representational signs for building a character. However, playwrights, directors, and actors many times altered the plays during rehearsals, even and many times after a performance, depending on the audience and the audience's reaction, as some of you pointed out in your posts already. Playwrights and actors on numerous occasions made substantial changes in response to that criticism. Hence, the actor had to strive through physical exercises for a somatic transformation in order to produce genuine movements true to her character. And I'm sorry, there we go. The practice of physical training stems from the school of ancient Greek philosophers who advocated, as Dr. Schusterman points out, physical training. And I quote, since fit bodies provide sharper perceptions and more discipline and versatility for adapting oneself in thought. The actors also had to familiarize themselves with the physical space of the stage and all its components, the exits and entrances, props, sceneries, and especially its stage machines. Now, stage machines, such as the one you see here, which is called the cloud, elevated actors above the stage, creating an illusion of flying, used in hagiographic plays in which actors, for example, angels or saints, usually played by women, and the reason they were usually played by women were because audiences preferred the women's voices to the men's voices as angels. So they would appear above the stage on a cloud, which at times required them to drop down and disappear through a trapdoor. So imagine that. Oh, kind of scary. These machines required a certain amount of somatic discipline from the actors who had to train their bodies to balance on the platforms, while trusting the machines as well as the boys that operated them to safely move them above the stage. At times, actors reverted back to their ingrained habits, refusing to perform for fear of falling off the contraptions, which is what happened to a 17th century Spanish actress named Josefa de Medina. She fell from a stage machine to her death while performing in Seville. And I'm sorry, but this didn't move on. Okay, there we go. Playwrights frequently employed the use of stage machines and animals, such as entering on horseback, to attract audience members. All during these physical actions, the actors are expected to deliver their lines loud enough to be heard. Therefore, an actor had to take care to preserve her vocal cords by cultivating sound physical habits. From a somaesthetic approach, a synthesis of mind and body happens through exercises that enable the individual to recognize and change habits that are unnatural to the function of everyday activities. When easy functions, such as walking across the stage, appear unnatural or forced, the actor runs the risk of producing a caricature or a character that audiences will find unconvincing. The actors honor the truthfulness of her character by preparing with somaesthetic exercises. So go ahead and read, please, the chapter from Quintilian's Institute Oratory, and then proceed to the discussion board to complete post 2. I look forward to your take on Quintilian's work. And don't forget to relate it to the 3 categories within pragmatic somaesthetics. Thank you.